Hi guys, I'm at my friend Dave Medina's office. I'm about to go in. Keep watching for helpful information about mortgage loans.
Dave, I'm super excited for this interview. I've been looking forward to it. This is something, actually, I've been talking to people about it recently, and they have been excited to learn about it. I've been like, I have this video that's going to come out. People have been wondering why I haven't had a video out the last week, and I'm like, well, I have this really good video with a lot of information coming out, and so people are looking forward to this one.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
It's great. So they're waiting for my video to come out. I didn't tell them everything, but I said, you know, I'm having someone talk about a good professional talking about like some of the help that he can do with mortgages.
Sure.
And so I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be good, giving information to a lot of information to people that don't know about this, and there's so many people that don't. Like, well, I'm really
all about that
to talk about that. So, but before we start, I wanted you to introduce yourself and just talk about why you do what you do, and like why you've spent so much time into learning how to do this, and what you like about it.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Tracy, for having me on. I love working with you. It's just it's always a pleasure to kind of align with partners that share the same value sets, and you know, I'm all about education and empowerment, and that's really what this is all about. So, but you know, for those who don't know me, my name is Dave Medina. I'm an area manager here for Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. I've been in the industry for about 18 years now, so almost 2 full decades.
Wow.
And about halfway through my career, I really sort of felt a natural calling towards the newer borrower, which of course includes like first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
And I just really felt that it was an underserved market, and I'm looking around at the different media outlets and sort of the flow of information out there, and I noticed that there's like almost a complete lack of information as it pertains to how to support this critical customer, right? I mean, first-time homebuyers are so incredibly important to housing, and housing is so incredibly important to our economy, and our economy is important for everything.
Yeah.
So, and I never could understand why, for such an important customer, why there was such a complete lack of information out there on showing these people how they can, many despite their own beliefs, how they can get out of renting and into a home. So decided to make that switch and start really digging in on the types of programs that could help this type of customer. And you know, it's been, I think I could say conclusively, it's been probably the most rewarding experience that I've ever had in almost 20 years of real estate, because you're literally a part of making the American dream come true for people.
Yeah, and I have that same feeling. Is I love seeing people be able to get into the home of their dreams, go away from renting, and be able to do that. And it seems like you were saying in the news, they make it so it's scary to buy a home, and it can be. There's some, but it's like one of the best investments that you could make. And it's crazy how, you know, they make it seem such a scary thing. And also, I wanted to mention that while we're talking about a lot about first-time home buyers, that there's also a definition of first-time home buyers that people don't know. They think it's my very first home ever. Like, I've never owned a home before.
Sure.
And that's what. So I wanted to kind of to ask you what the definition of a first-time home buyer is, other than it's my first home.
Good. So this is going to be like a bunch of MythBuster activity right now, and that's probably one of the biggest ones. And by the way, before we jump into that, just to comment, because what you said right now is so unbelievably accurate. You know, the media outlets, the news things out there, they do make it scary, because the fact of the matter is fear sells. Right? Sure. It's the same reason that everybody slows down on a freeway when there's a car accident, right? It's just like the bad news sells, and that's how they get clicks and sell advertising and different things like that. It's very unfortunate that they're not posting stories about the 3 people this month that I helped get into the home of their dreams for less than $2,500 out of their pocket. Yeah. Right? You know, where's that story? Right? I'm like scrolling through my phone looking for that, and I can't find it. But anyway, to get back to your question, first-time home buyer, I think intuitively people hear that and they think, well, I can, you know, I've never bought a home before. That's actually not the case. A first-time home buyer is defined by someone who has not owned a primary residence in the last 36 months only. So technically, you could be a first-time homebuyer 3 times in a 10-year period here. And also, primary residence is the key factor there, because somebody can own a rental property and still be considered a first-time homebuyer.
Oh, okay.
For as long as it's going to be a primary residence for them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a big myth out there, and it's important that people know that, because you know, we're coming off of, I know that we've built some distance from it, but 2008, 2009 was a tough time for people.
Yeah.
Especially as it pertained to housing and real estate. A lot of people lost their homes and were had to re-enter the renters market after being homeowners prior to that.
And I feel that everybody knows someone.
I literally don't think you could line up 10 people in a room.
But usually family.
Family, at least somebody in close relationship, right? Family, like friends, somebody, everybody knows somebody who's impacted that way. But for those people that, you know, fast forward now 10 years down the road, here we are in 2020, they might want to get back into home ownership, but think that they're not eligible for any of these first-time homebuyer assistance programs. But that would not be the case, because after 3 years of non-ownership, you're considered a first-time homebuyer again.
That's great news.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah. I feel like I'm learning new things from you all the time. Because I didn't know the exact months. I knew that you didn't have to be a first-time homebuyer, but I didn't know exactly how many months or years that it had to be between buying a home.
36 months. I mean, that awesome. Goes by like that.
And so we were gonna. I was thinking that it would be good to talk about mortgage assistance. So I wanted to talk about some of those programs. Cool. And I think that's a big thing that people don't know about. I didn't know about it until you came to my office and told us all about it.
So look, I think the important thing to define here is to really look at what are the major hurdles that first-time home buyers and newer borrowers generally face. Believe it or not, it's not really credit, although, you know, certainly credit can be an issue. We have incredible resources to help people step through those issues as well. We have wonderful partners we work with that assist in that, and
I'll have a plug later.
Cool. So credit, I would say is not one of the biggest hurdles. And you know, the job market is doing well right now. The economy's booming. So income and consistent jobs is something that over the last few years has grown even more secure than it was before. But we live in Southern California, which means our cost of living is very high. So even if you have a good job, even if you have credit, down payment or lack thereof is really the biggest hurdle that stands in between somebody transitioning from renting into owning a home. So the programs that exist out there are very similar to the programs that somebody who is not a first-time homebuyer, somebody who does have their own down payment. In fact, they're almost identical. And we'll talk about that in just a little bit. But what makes it a first-time homebuyer program is that big hurdle we talked about, which is the required down payment. We have a solution to help people bridge that gap of being able to step into a home without having to go out and save $15,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 in order to do that. Yeah, and I feel like, even though, like we were talking about before, how people lost their homes in 2008, 2009, that time period, some people are still kind of paying on that, or they're just finishing on whatever happened. And so even 10 years was not enough to have, $20,000 or $30,000 or whatever that people think they have to have. They think I have to have this amount. And we could talk about that later, that you don't need the 20%, and that the PMI isn't the worst thing in the world. Another mythbuster alert. People are like, PMI, I can't get that. Like, that's horrible. So if we could maybe talk about those things also. So a lot, there's this kind of myth out there that you need a 20% down payment in order to buy a home. And there's some very popular sort of celebrity, quote unquote, financial experts, even though they're not really credentialed in any way. They're more opinionists than anything, who say that, you know, you shouldn't buy a house unless you have 20% down. We have some very interesting analytics that support a considerably different message. Okay. But no, we have loan programs for as little as 3.5% down. Even as a first-time home buyer, we have a 3% down conventional program. And if you're a veteran or active member of the United States military, we have programs that don't require any down payment. So literally, we can get people into homes for, if we're utilizing one of the down payment assistance programs, even though 3.5% for most people, if you're buying a $400,000 home, that's still a scary number for people to get up to, you know, we don't have $15,000, right? No. But we get people into homes utilizing the down payment assistance programs for literally less out of pocket than they would pay for the first month's rent and security deposit at a comparable home. It's, Tracy, that's awesome. You would, I mean, your eyes would roll back if you see the stories that happen where we get people in for cheaper than it would take to go and rent an apartment. I mean, that's the crazy thing too, is I guess people that don't live in this area, but I'm sure it's pretty much the same in a lot of areas, but especially in Southern California. Rent is crazy. You can own a 3-bedroom home, not attached, and be paying sometimes the same amount as you're paying for a condo. Absolutely, no doubt. For rent, which is crazy to me. It's I know frustrating to people because they're just paying towards somebody else's mortgage, and they feel like they're just throwing their money away when they could own a home. But when they think that the only thing holding them back is the down payment, that's what's it's sad that they don't know that they can get help with that, and that they don't need to be stuck in the rental, you know that's why videos like this, that's why realtors like you honestly are so critical, because we've already established that we can't rely on the media to go out there and tell this story. So I really think that the role of a real estate agent and a lending professional has really changed. Like, you know, instead of just fundamentally being there to fill out contracts and do things like that, our job is really to go out and be an ambassador to the community and let people know all of these amazing things. Because I'll tell you what, a first-time home buyer who comes into my office, and by the way, anybody who is interested in seeing if any of these programs apply to them, we offer a very thorough one-on-one, like not over the phone, one-on-one. Yeah, we just went the other day, a couple hours with one of your clients. You know, an hour to 2 hours, whatever they need in order to be educated and empowered to see how any of these programs fit them. And let's say, you know, sometimes they don't, right? But that time is super effective, because what we can do is we can build a roadmap on how to get them from point A to point B in the littlest amount of time possible. But I got to tell you, when somebody comes into my office and they have all these preconceived notions in their head about the down payment money they'll need and what their credit needs to be like and how much the mortgage payment's going to be, and you know, everything is just doubt. And we start showing them the fundamentals of how these programs work, and they're all 30-year fixed mortgages. They're the safest loans that you can possibly get into. They're literally insured by the United States government and the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So these are loans designed to put people in homes, and more importantly, they're designed to keep people in homes. That's a huge thing. And when you start just dispelling these myths one at a time, you literally watch the body language on these people change. And it goes from a face of doubt to a face of like, Dave, are you serious? Like, this program works for us? Like, we could literally be in a home in 45 days from now? That's why I said that it has become by far the most rewarding experience that I've had in almost 2 decades of doing this. That's amazing. I think that would be a really fun thing to see. Oh, it's amazing. You know, they come in thinking, well, we'll see what happens. And then they leave being like, oh, they're all excited and they know. But like we also said, is if they don't qualify for these things, you can start them. They don't have to leave frustrated. They can leave with hope. They can still leave with some hope that, you know what, I know that within this time period,
ish that I can eventually own a home, and they don't just have to stop. They can start working towards owning that home.
No doubt. Look, I know it's kind of cliche, but I'm a big believer in the phrase that knowledge is power.
Oh, for sure.
And knowledge, whether you want to buy a house or not, if home ownership is something that somebody thinks exists in their future, whether that's 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, or any time down the road, it is so critical to get empowered with the information. Otherwise, you're just stuck at home wondering, what if? Sure. And sometimes answering those questions, even when it's not the right answer that everybody's looking for, knowing the path to get to where it does become a reality is just as important. So my advice to anyone out there, if home ownership is something that you think about or you think has a place in you or your family's life in the future, today is the time to start getting prepared. It's crazy to me that people will spend more time deciding where to go to dinner tonight than in getting prepared for what will likely be the biggest financial decision they'll ever make in their life. So we want to mitigate that for them. We want to be able to provide a very no cost, no obligation opportunity to come and get that information, empower themselves, and they can leave their wallet at home because we don't need a checkbook or a credit card or anything like that.
Great, awesome. So I wanted to talk a little bit also going back to the mortgage assistance programs. Is how does that work? Is that going to bring up their monthly payment? How is that going to work with getting their loan, and is that going to make a difference in what they're paying every
So there's a couple different kind of programs. So I'm going to generalize that a little bit, but basically, so if somebody needs $20,000 to purchase a home, right? So we have some solutions out there that will actually provide that money. But as we know in life, there's no such thing as free money, and there's no free money here either. But that assistance that we can provide them actually gets recorded against the house. So it's a secondary loan, but there's it's what we call a silent subordinate loan, which means there's no monthly payments made towards that. And in fact, a big chunk of it is even interest free. So the whole concept of it is that this is owed against the house, but you're not paying any payments for it. So it's not going to increase your mortgage payment at all. And then you let the house go to work for you. The house is going to grow in appreciation, and because we're only talking about a 30-year fixed loan, the loan balance every month is also going to be going down, right? So what's going to happen over time is you're going to build equity in the home, which is literally the best benefit of home ownership. Is the fact that you get to build equity, and so the concept is that you let the equity and you let the house work for you to pay off that money in the future for you. So whenever you refinance the house, or if you decided to sell in the future, or if you paid the home off in 30 years, then that money, that assistance money that you were given at the point of purchase, has to be paid back. But it's done via the equity of the home versus ever having to necessarily break out a checkbook and write a check.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so payments are I mean, we're talking about interest rates in the mid 3% range.
They're awesome right now.
Awesome. Interest rates are incredible. So affordability is great. People are getting into homes still with less out of pocket and less of a mortgage payment than it would be to go rent a comparable home.
That's right. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I wanted to kind of go over a little bit because we had talked about the PMI also, and that it's not the worst thing. So I kind of wanted to go over that a little bit. Why is it there, and how do you get rid of it?
Mortgage insurance. So PMI, what you're talking about is mortgage insurance, and so mortgage insurance exists on a loan anytime somebody is putting less than 20% down. So that's where that 20% kind of thing comes up a lot. There are some exceptions to that, depending on like VA loans for veterans and active servicemen and women. Those loans do not have any PMI, which makes that benefit just absolutely superb. I do a lot of that type of financing as well. But mortgage insurance just allows financial institutions the security to go out there and loan at what we call very high loan-to-value loans or minimal down payments. It's just, a lot of mortgage companies sort of bit the dust back in that 2008, 2009 housing recession. And so the programs that exist today are designed to sort of mitigate the risk of something like that happening again. So A lot of people have heard of FHA before, the Federal Housing Authority.
Yeah.
Another big myth is that they loan money to people. They actually don't.
Okay.
So FHA's purpose is essentially to be a national insurance firm for financial institutions like us.
Okay.
Right? So they are providing the insurance in the way of the FHA mortgage insurance that you're talking about that protects us as a financial institution should the borrower ever go into a default position. So that mortgage insurance is very critical because it keeps everybody in sort of a safe zone, and it allows financial institutions to have the appetite to go out there and make loans with very, very small down payments to people.
Yeah.
So look, if you don't have 20% down payment sitting in a bank, mortgage insurance is your best friend.
Yeah.
Right? And even if you do have the money, you can make an interesting argument on whether it makes more sense to keep that money liquid or put it in an alternative investment mechanism. When you have interest rates in the 3% range that we have in mortgages right now, and you can put that money to work for you otherwise outside of your home in maybe an interest earning account or some sort of investment where you're making more than 3.5%, then it might make more sense to put a littler down payment on the house, take mortgage insurance, and put that money to work for you in a different way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Yeah. I know. I sometimes forget to not say PMI. Not everybody knows what PMI.
So yeah, that's okay. That's
if you don't work in the loans or anything. Yeah. So thank you for giving that definition.
It's not a scary thing. It's got a bad rap, but it's not a scary thing.
No, it's not. And you know what? A lot of people get loans with that. And it just like you said, it secures. It gives the financial institutions more reason to give you that money. They feel more secure that they have that little buffer, and it doesn't bring up your payment that much. It's usually it makes it so that we can get into homes.
What it does is puts you in a home. That's it right there. It gets you in a home when otherwise you could not. So as far as I'm concerned, it's the greatest invention since sliced bread.
I think it's amazing. So I think I was going to ask you, is there anything else that you think that we can, going with the down payment assistance and the PMI, a few other things that come into your mind that maybe they could benefit from?
Yeah, look, as far as how the loan works and how it pertains to any individual, it really just takes the commitment to jumping in and exploring that, right? Yeah. So, but I'll offer a little bit different advice.
Great.
Because I think that, we talked about this concept of fear, and fear sort of runs everything in our lives. If you utilize fear in the right way, it could also be very opportunistic. Yeah. But it's not surprising to me that there's so much fear out there, especially as it pertains to housing, because we've got this younger generation that is now getting into the age of traditionally getting into home ownership. But a lot of these younger individuals rode the 2008 and 2009 housing recession, and they watched a lot of pain come as a result of that. Yeah. Maybe in their own families. Maybe they lost their family home. Yeah. Maybe that caused things like divorce and strained relationships and things like that. So I think there's the whole young generation out there that just attaches housing to negative emotions. Yeah. Right? But then at the same time, they also know that housing is a stepping stone to incredible wealth and legacy, and being able to do things like retire with more ease and pay for college for kids in the future, and all of the amazing benefits that could come out of home ownership. So all I would recommend to people is that you just make a very intentional decision to take the guesswork out of it, and make the decision to just come in and see how all of this applies to you. Sure. Maybe it's not right for you, but don't sit at home on your couch and wonder. It just takes up too much bandwidth in your head. It just takes up too much of your emotions. Come, get empowered, figure out what's going out there, figure out how it pertains to you, and I think you'd be surprised out there how many people will have that same emotion that I told you, that same body language change. And, they could be out searching for a home in as little as 30 days. It's really, really, really amazing. And we like to make that process incredibly easy because we understand that fear. We're very sensitive with it. So this is it's a very friendly, a very nurturing environment to come and do that. There's no judgment.
Yeah.
We evaluate credit. And by the way, that borrower has a 100% right to their financial privacy.
Yes.
So we don't share that information with anybody but them. And, we go from there. So it's really just an hour to an hour and a half of their time to set them up for arguably the best possible investment they'll ever make for their family. So do it. Take the leap. That's my advice.
You're awesome, Dave. Thank you so much for giving us this time.
Thank you, Tracy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, giving me the opportunity to talk to you and get some information. And I just love you, and I'm so grateful that I'm able to work with you.
Thank you. I can't wait for the next video. We'll think of another cool topic.
Great. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank Dave for taking time out of his day to do this video with me. Also, if you know anybody who can benefit from this video, I would love if you would share it with them. And if you can like this video and subscribe to my channel, I'd appreciate that also. Thank you. Have a good day.